Hello, everyone, and welcome to Blow the Whistle Sports. I would like to wish everyone a happy new year. And it's 23 now. Wow, that's something to say. But I don't want to draw this introduction out. I want to introduce my co-host, Mr. Steven Rubain. How you doing, sir?
I think he's glad to be back in the studio. It's good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to have you back, man. Traveling all the way to wonderful Carolina.
Yeah, I did have a wonderful holiday vacation in Carolina. Like I said before, nothing is sweeter than to be in Carolina.
There you go. There you
But,
go.
but
We'll bring you over to where the love's at, Steve. We'll get you over there.
it's going to take some time. It's going to take some time. But I will say, well, I did have an enjoyable time there. Coming back, yeah, just we're going to get into about this game on Monday night. But yeah, just we got a lot to talk about. So
That's our main focus.
Yes.
We wanted to get into a bunch of this politics that's going on, but me and both Steve had a long talk the day before and today, and we want to just talk a lot more about Mr. Damar Hamlin.
Yes, Damar Hamlin. Yes.
Damar Hamlin. I know everybody's wearing you guys out with it, but hey, this young man gave it his all. Um, and he's in critical condition right now, and that's all we can think about right now.
I mean, it's a very important topic. I mean, this is something we're going to, like I said, get deeper into it. But I'll give a little context. Maybe this will help. I know when I was a little kid, I first started getting into football in the late '70s. I remember one of the first things I remember about the NFL, an exhibition game, 1978, between the Patriots and the Raiders. There was a young man called Daryl Stingley who was at the time an up-and-coming star wide receiver for the New England Patriots. A sad context was that he was just about ready to sign one of the richest contracts for a wide receiver in the NFL. They were ready to sign the contract. It was going to be signed 2 weeks after the exhibition game. They're playing against the Raiders, and I just remember, at that time, exhibition games weren't shown on TV like they are today. You didn't have all the huge
The hype about
it.
the hoopla.
Yeah, it was just another exhibition game, but it was during a time when at the NFL, you have what's called those headhunters, those guys who made a reputation out of taking out wide receivers, taking out guys going across the middle.
We used to get patted on the back for knocking the person out the
you
game.
were glorified for doing it, and it was understood. And the NFL itself accepted it, not just accepted it, but kind of relished it. They kind of
people loved it.
They loved it.
Part of the game.
Part of the game, and so you had this guy Jack Tatum, and his reputation was he was called the assassin. I mean, and that in itself, you think about in today's realm of NFL, you would never be able to use a nickname like that for an NFL player. But at that time,
that's totally out of hand.
Totally out of hand. But he was known for that. I mean, and he relished that mean streak about him that wanted to not just tackle the player, but knock him out.
Exactly.
And so here you had just a routine play across the middle where Daryl Stingley was going to go try and make a catch. He, knowing who was coming at him and knowing his reputation as being the assassin, he decided he was going to put his head down to protect himself so that he doesn't get cracked across the middle. In so doing, his helmet went across the shoulder pads of Tatum. It instantly broke his fourth and fifth vertebrae, and at that time, he is going to be paralyzed.
Wow. Why would a man play at that level in an exhibition game?
I mean, it was just par for the course at that time. I mean, exhibition games back then meant something because even if you were a star player and appointed player, you still had to fight for your position, had to fight for your. So, I mean,
wow.
Now, the crazy part about just thinking about how much the era's changed, after they got him off the field, they went on and played the game. No penalties. Nothing was brought apart Tatum at all. It was just considered to be a normal play. He goes to the hospital, of course. Now, the crazy part, another sad tale, none of the players on his team were at the hospital that night to even look and make sure he was okay. The only person, the first night he went to the hospital was John Madden, the coach for the Raiders.
Wow.
I mean, I heard that part. That just blew me away. And John Madden and Daryl Stingley had a relationship that built for the rest of their lives because distinctly remember that he was the one guy who went to the hospital that first night to see him, other than just family.
That speaks volumes about John Madden and his legacy too.
So that absolutely does. And the other player who went, Gene Upshaw, who those who are familiar with the NFL went on later on to become the NFL Players Association president, and was very instrumental in a lot of changes that were made in the NFL.
Knowing back then things needed to be changed.
Absolutely. And so just closing out on that part, the NFL, of course, took many more years before they actually really started to make significant changes as to how players were treated, as far as big hits across the middle, especially, or even just hits in general. But the NFL, to their credit, they did agree to pay his hospital bills for the rest of his life, plus take on the education for his children.
Now, see, right there, I want to underline that, because it shouldn't be it shouldn't be a pick and choose who you want to take care of their bills. Once you play a game in this NFL, your bills need to be taken care of, period.
And that's going to get to the lawsuit regarding former players in the NFL in relation to what's called CTE, which is a condition, a brain condition that occurs from players who get hit either too many times in the head or get hit,
constant bashing of the head,
right,
over and over again. And the NFL tried to hide this for years.
For years and years, they tried to mask it, and finally it had to lead to a lawsuit where many former players joined in. And I actually know one of the players, one of my good friends, Lincoln Minor, who played in the NFL in the 70s, was also part of that lawsuit, and was able to get a settlement for that, and then well deserved. And I think probably for what they got, they should have gotten more. But
I want people to understand. Yes, we come here, we talk sports. Yes, we love the NFL. We're involved, deeply invested in NFL, but it still all has to make sense. We want people to play this game, but we want it to be fun and competitive, not where we're just losing people.
Absolutely. It's just I think what it comes down to is that people see the NFL and they just say, "Oh, football is a balanced sport, and it's just part of the game." And let's remember, Jack Tatum, to go back to the player we're talking about in the 70s, he never apologized openly to the player for the rest of his life.
That's crazy.
This man who died at 55 due to conditions many, many years before from his paralysis.
That's crazy.
He never openly came out to the day Jack Tatum died and would come out, because in his mind, he said, and this is a quote he made, "Well, if you play football, you're due to get illness. You're due to get hurt. That's just part of the game." It's just understood that if you play football, getting hurt is part of the game.
Well, I want to bring up Mr. Warren Sapp, who's donated his brain to one of the biggest organizations. To when he passes away, he wants his brain studied, because he believes that he has CTE already and he's suffering from it. And he has a organization that you can call the phone number. I couldn't find that number. I looked, but I will have it next week, because I've been watching the commercial that they've been playing it over since this happened, where anybody who's played any type of football, they want you to call in and give up your condition and say how you feel every day, how long you played. They want to make this game better. And I've talked to Steve, over the years, and this game is a skill game. Yes, we can still play tackle, but it doesn't have to be a bang bang every play. It's a skill game where the linemen just stop you from coming in, blocking. You don't have to use your head to block.
No, you don't.
And I've pointed this out over and over again as the NFL evolved from the leather helmets to these big helmets, which you can turn yourself into a missile. And it's crazy where we need to dial down these helmets to where the back of the helmet protects you if you fall backwards, but you don't need all that protection over your head. You need some protection to guard you from scrapes and maybe fingers coming into the face, but it should be turned more into a skill game, to where a person that's running top speed is not going to run into a person with their head, because they don't have that type of protection over their head. They need protection, but not not the type to where you're using your head like a bat.
Yeah, I mean, with the technology we have today, they can create a helmet that can have cushion or padding where if someone does, use their helmet, it's not going to be to that extent that it's going to cause that catastrophic injury.
We're not taking away the hits, and then you can lighten up on the penalties to the quarterback. He still don't go for his knees, but he can still be tackled now because you don't have to worry about anybody going head first.
Absolutely,
this can be dialed down, and it's a skilled game where we want to see runs and passes.
I agree.
It'll make the game even better.
I agree with you. And let me ask you a question. How do you think the NFL handled the situation with Hamlin at the time, as far as with the time it took for them to get onto the field? I mean, for me, it felt like it took way too long. I feel like they should be able to have facilities at the stadium immediately where they can bring all the equipment out and handle it on the field. It shouldn't take 10 minutes of resuscitation and then however long it took them to get the ambulance on the field, get them to the hospital.
That's a great point, Steve. I'm glad you brought that up because I feel, well, we know at any public event, there's always a medical ambulance there for emergencies.
Right.
But at this level, and as much as these players are being paid, there should be a full staff on the field where when the training staff goes out there, the medical staff is right there on standby, ready to go on and apply emergency.
I absolutely agree. I mean, to me, it's common sense. I mean, you only got 16 games, 17 games a season, and you got 16 stadiums. And so you're looking at
it's just being cheap.
It's just being cheap because the equipment that you have in the hospital, they can afford to have that equipment at the stadium, in every stadium for every game.
And I go even a step further than that. There's 32 teams. These men put some perspective on it. You can go through your life and you don't even have to play a sport. Just walking and running, you put wear and tear on your body.
Oh, absolutely.
Now imagine these people that race for speed, stopping on a dime. In the NFL, there's a common injury that when you run so fast that your kneecap goes up into your thigh. This is a common injury. Victor Cruz had that happen.
Yes, he did.
It's very painful, but that's just from you being a human, and as fast as you run, the slight movement can make your kneecap go up into your thigh.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many injuries. I mean, you look at just the injury reports throughout the NFL throughout the season. There's no reason why you can't have, like I said, a full staff at the stadium because you got just so many various injuries. You just mentioned about the knees, but the thing about it, the three main ones, of course, are the brain, the heart, and the spine. Those are the three that are the most devastating, most catastrophic injuries.
And we hear about them all the time. Matthew Stafford just suffered a spinal injury.
How many concussions have we heard about just in the last 5-6 weeks?
Tua's
had like 3 in the last 3 weeks that he's been held out for. I mean, when you're talking about the number of people who attend the game, all the number of players who attend, it's well worth having a medical staff on scene at every game.
And I got a little bit off point because I'm passionate about what I'm talking about, but the NFL needs its own hospitals, especially for this talent. Or we can go a step further. We have baseball, we have football, we have soccer. They all need to get a coalition together and have sports hospitals that take care of these people no matter what, as long as they live, once they dedicate their body to this game.
Absolutely. I mean, at the number of games that you have, and like you said, in all the various sports, it's well worth. I mean, that's a job. If you have the base between baseball, football, basketball, and then like you mentioned, soccer as well. If you take those 4 sports and talk about the number of games played in America over the course of a year, hundreds and hundreds, I mean, tens of thousands of games.
Yes. These players don't need to go to a hospital and wait in line with everyone else when they play at the level they play with the money that's being passed around from football to the NFL owners to the TV contracts.
Yeah.
there need to be their own hospitals where they're taken care of immediately.
Absolutely. I mean, it just makes common sense. I mean, like I said, you could pretty much work every day as a doctor just working on football games themselves and working on events.
And without saying, our hearts and prayers go out to Mr. Number 3, Damar Hamlin. He's 24 years old.
Yes.
And he hasn't played 4 years in the NFL. That's a statement right there, because in the NFL you have to play at least 3.5 to 4 years to get your benefits.
Absolutely.
Now that's crazy because, like as you said, in the exhibition game, college standout could be in this game and get hurt. So you're trying to say he just gets the thumbs up and oh well?
Unfortunately, that's been the case in a lot of cases. They have not been totally upfront as far as protecting their investments. And I got, his hospital bills. I really hope the NFL steps up like they did with Stingley and takes care of all of his hospital bills, because people are just like, oh, he's an NFL player. Oh, he's fine. No. He has million of hospital bills. Those bills are going to add up.
And that's why I'm an advocate for, think about this. We're talking about these players and as much money as they're making in the NFL. But you must understand, NFL players have started out from Pop Warner.
Well, let's get it straight. The top NFL players are making great money. For a guy like a Damar Hamlin,
wow,
he's not making huge money.
I think his contract was, let me see, I think I wrote it down, $825,000 this year.
Yeah, I mean, that's a nice contract, but when you're looking at how much it's going to cost him these total hospital bills,
that's nothing.
It's nothing. He's going to be hurting. I mean, he's going to probably, it may end up costing that much money alone, his total hospital bills, depending on how long he's going to be having recovery.
And that's my point. These players have played from Pop Warner to high school to college, and some they go off and they play in these other leagues. Once you've played in college and once you've been a prospect, once you've crossed to the NFL, you know what? I can go as far as to say, once you play in college, you automatically should have coverage.
Yeah, I mean,
you should have some type of coverage because you've been putting your body on the line for what?
I mean, the colleges can't afford. I mean, as much as they charge for a college tuition, colleges can't afford to take care of these athletes who bring in buku bucks for the universities.
Well, it's not even on the college. The team earns money, especially these high these teams and these like the USCs, the UCLAs. Certain teams get this promotion money from TV,
big time.
So let's not point out just certain programs. Every program, all of them need to be connected when it comes to this medical coverage. We need to watch out for our kids and the players.
Absolutely. I mean, the NCAA is an institution in of itself. I mean, and then, like you said, you talk about 300 Division I schools, but you got Division II, Division III, I think it's called FCS now, and different divisions to it, NAIA, et cetera. They all need to be taken care of.
It's not going to take away from the college at all. Just use the money that's generated from that sport.
Yeah, I agree. But then the issue then becomes well, football makes a huge amount of money for the school, but then gymnastics or lacrosse or whatever does not make money for the school. Should they be taken care of?
We're advocating not just for football, for all sports events. All sports players need to be included in this. If you go to a school and you put your body on the line for the school, if you're just running track, walking, you put wear and tear on your body. So if you run track and you get on that field and you running around that field, you're putting wear and tear on your body. You're included in this package.
I agree. I mean, I'm all for it. I think this. I mean, I would love to think that this situation will start, opening people's minds, but I could think about another situation. As a teenager, boxing. Of course, we know boxing is definitely a violent sport. I also remember, and this is before your time, ABC Wild World of Sports. Was that before your time?
No, I remember ABC Wild World of Sports. I remember
that. I remember ABC 1982, ABC Wild World of Sports. I used to love. I mean, I was a huge Howard Cosell fan. I loved every Saturday.
Howard
Cosell, one of the greats. And so I'll never forget Ray Mancini versus Kim Duck-Koo. And you're like, who's that?
Yes,
Well, at
I
the
am.
time, Ray Mancini was the light heavyweight champion, and he was kind of like someone who was very popular in the sport. At the time, pretty much him and Ray Leonard, the two Rays, were probably the biggest names of the sport in the
Right.
early '80s. And so he had this lightweight championship bout against this Kim Duk-Koo, who was like this South Korean guy that pretty much nobody outside of South Korea even knew who he was. I never forget. I was so excited for this fight, and I wasn't a huge Ray Mancini fan. I kind of thought he was overhyped, and so I was like cheering for Kim Duk-Koo. Now, at that time, championship fights were 15 rounds,
Right.
and so these two warriors just went into it, round after round, just destroying each other. I mean, punch after punch after punch, just devastating punches. And so, I mean, at the time, it kept going back and forth, back and forth. You couldn't tell who was going to win. And finally, by the 14th round, you could see that Kim Duk-Koo was wearing down. Mancini put just a horrible beat down on him, and to the point where, during those days, the referees, unlike today, where they're quick to stop fights, they wanted to get this guy because he was fighting so hard, every chance possible to come back. They gave him just way, way too many blows to the head. He ends up after the fight, when he gets lost by TKO, he passes out in the ring, goes to the hospital, finds out he has blood on the brain, and ends up dying at the hospital.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just such a devastating, at a 12-year-old kid, and just like, oh my God.
We've lost other players like that.
Yeah, lost other people like that. But this was because this was on ABC Wild Water Sports. It was at the time huge ratings. Boxing's like, we got to do something. Now, at the time, how people started like, boxing needs to be eliminated. It's too violent of a sport.
They've been trying to get rid of boxing.
Yeah, at that time, it was like that was like huge push. Like, boxing decides, okay, we got to do something. So what boxing decided is, well, the fight went 14 rounds. Maybe if it didn't go 14 rounds, he wouldn't have died. So instead of making fights 15 rounds, let's make them 12.
Remember when fights used to be 50 rounds?
Yeah.
When they used to just go and
they
go?
Until yeah. And so, that was the way boxing addressed it. Was, okay, instead of going 15 rounds, let's make it 12. But pretty much everything else goes into play. And so we're still to this day, up until a year or two ago, we're still having boxers die in the ring. And we we love boxing, and so we just accept it. It's just part of the sport. We understand that.
Well,
it's a balanced sport.
I'm not gonna get on sports because we all know what we sign up for, what we put our body through.
Right.
It's not on us that play the sports. Let's be responsible for the people that play the sports that we are entertained by. This is, we're all human. This is what we like to watch. This is what I'm still into football. I'm gonna give a shout out to James Johnson and Charlie Bear. How you guys doing?
That's the type of stuff. Give Charlie Bear a big Steeler win this weekend. I don't want to sidetrack. I'll get to the Steelers in a little bit. Let's focus on.
We'll holler at y'all when we talk about when we get past this. But not to forget, remember the Steelers player Ryan
Shazier, yes.
He played in the league 4 years. He had 299 tackles in 46 games.
He was going to be a big star.
He's getting ready for his big contract.
Yes.
Getting ready for his big contract and knocked out, spinal surgery, stabilization surgery.
Yeah. And now in his case, it has been a success story in the sense that while he never did, of course, play in the NFL ever again, I think he is to a point now where he can walk with some assistance. There's a huge, he's been able to, put yeoman's work in, much work. But
thank God that we put a lot of light on this, where the Steelers organization got behind him and took care of him.
Yes. And that's why people have always respected the Steelers organizations, that they truly are more than just about the team itself. They're about the players. It's a family. And once you're in the Steelers family, you're always in the Steelers family. So I give kudos to them for that.
I like that. That's a big ups right there. But like I said, anybody who's played in this league, who's league, not even NFL, football period, please, I'll put the number up next week. I'll find it. It's Warren Sapp's foundation. Well, part of a foundation that he's working with, that he's donated his brain to. You have anything that you want to say about football, how it made you feel, what type of little tweaks or quirks that you got going on from the time you played, please put all the information is needed.
Yeah, we just can't let this be just another case of, okay, where everybody's excited now, let's donate $7 million to Hamlin's charity. And then, a year from now, it's all forgotten. And it's just kind of like back to football as usual. This change has to come.
You know what? It's funny that you said about his foundation. His foundation is not even about this. His foundation was about struggling kids. And before this, he only had 25,000 in donations. Now he has over $1 million.
Yeah, and the thing was, the organization started even before he got into the NFL. He started, I think, his senior year at college.
Wow.
He started this organization. So it wasn't just about, let's use my NFL resources to get money. It was about, he really passionately believed in the cause. And so, yeah, I'm really happy that so many people have stepped up and acknowledged, and looked out for him, because we have to be better as a people. We have to just not, like I said, too often at times we just, as a people, just, when things are exciting, we go along with it and like, yeah, let's go ahead and da-da-da, and then all of a sudden we just go back to
it's one big hype for that week, and then after that week is over with, it's all forgotten.
It's all forgotten.
But what I'm nervous about is that this 24-year-old young man has only been in the league 2 years. What's going to happen to him, Steve? What's going to happen to him? Do we have to keep talking about this and shame them into doing and to making sure this man is taken care of? Because we can shame him all we want, shame the NFL all we want. This big beast, this organization, are they going to keep up with their promises? Because if they don't put it into writing, there's no one in 9 years from now is going to look back at this. You know what I mean? Well, and it be a priority.
Well, I would say, as far as the team goes, I think the Buffalo Bills are a standout organization, and I think Bills Mafia, Bills Nation will keep the fight going. He's not, like I said, he won't, like with Shazier, he won't be just lost another statistic lost in the front. This is bigger than the Bills.
I hear you.
This is the NFL.
I
the
hear
NFL
you,
needs to.
This is deeper than that.
Yeah.
It's a shame. Shame on the NFL if you put this burden and this strain purely on the organization, when this is a big monster that everybody needs to be pitching into.
Well, let's be real. I mean, I think we need to really get into the real deep matter of what's going on, as far as just not just the hit itself and the situation. At the time, the NFL, now they're trying to play like, well, we were never going to consider playing the game, blah, blah, blah.
That's crazy.
I watched the game.
We know they wanted to get that game going right back together.
They made it clear, we're going to give the teams 5 minutes to get it together, and then we're going to start the game up again. That what came down from the top. The players themselves, by the way they were acting and by the way they presented themselves and the emotion and the fact that they showed no interest whatsoever in playing that game again, forced the NFL's hand. I mean,
how could they? This is mind-blowing. Now, I can see somebody breaking the hand. I can even see somebody breaking the shoulder, because it's happened. It's happened. We've even seen people's necks get cracked.
We've seen people paralyzed.
Yes.
But let's think about it. None of those games were ever stopped. I mean, I remember when the guy from the Lions got paralyzed, the offensive lineman.
Right.
They played that game.
That's one thing. This man died on the field, Steve. He died. Again, he passed away on the field. Well, they had to revive him.
But the NFL is par for the course. I mean, the NFL, it's all about the shield. And the shield is like, we got to get the game in. I mean, that's just been the NFL's mentality. And it's been a mentality from as far as I can remember. And so, yeah, shame on the NFL for that. I mean, shame on the fact that they actually considered playing the game. It took forever for them to finally make the announcement that the game was going to be canceled or postponed.
Let me put it in perspective. This is a tough game. This is a hard game. It's a hard fought game. And we're not asking for every time something is broken or someone is hurt. But a man passed away and was brought back on the field. Common decency, common courtesy they should have wanted to take it and just told the players no. The players shouldn't have. The players were crying. That how you go back to playing the game when your mind's been you've been totally taken out of sync for the game. You know what I imagine. I imagine them making them play, and basically nobody really playing, like just going through the motions.
Going through the motions. But I mean, but once again, that goes back to the shield. The NFL is about the money first, about its legacy, its image, and then the players and everything else kind of comes second. And so the whole mentality has to change. I mean, I mean, like I said, I can just get deeper and deeper into this, but right now, this is a serious situation. And I mean, look at it as far as the schedule goes. I mean, they're not even giving any concessions for next week as far as for the Bills or the Bengals, as far as playing their games on Sunday. The NFL saying all the games as is. We're going to keep playing.
And that's my thing, because we talked about that earlier too. I didn't think I thought that personally all these games should have been pushed back at least 2 weeks. We shouldn't even be watching football this Sunday. I thought it should be pushed back. And you told me about myself about this is the monster. The monster, they have obligations they have to fill. Who's going to fill those time spots? And I'm like, time spots, obligations. A man. I mean, once again, we need more perspective. There's two teams, Cincinnati and Buffalo, and not to mention people that play these same positions on every team. They saw what happened. Don't you think that everybody needs a moment, some space to see what's going to happen with this young man? To see, now we know the show must go on after a time, but give people time to heal.
Well, I mean, remember, after 9/11, it was a hard struggle for them to cancel that next week of season of games. And that was 4,000 people dying. And just the whole country was in, we don't know where we're going to head next. And I mean, the NFL, of course, made the wise decision to cancel those weeks of games but the week after, they played.
Back to work.
Back to work.
But see, that let me know they're able to cancel the games.
Oh, they can cancel the game. I mean,
it will be easy to push back.
But once again, you're looking at the NFL is going to be looking at it as, look at the time of year. We're going to push everything back.
If you push what will it hurt?
Once again,
it won't hurt anything.
It's called the shield, man. I'm telling you, well, as horrible as we're looking at it from our eyes, our perspective, somebody's up there at Madison Avenue, somebody's up there in the big thing, and they're like, man, cha-ching, we're losing cha-ching, we're losing this, we're losing all this.
How can you lose when the game will still be played?
Because you can't, when you're looking at 16 games,
right?
You can't get all the same number of people that would be attending if the games were played at that time. You're going to have a loss of you're going to have refunds. People going to want their money back. People are going to be like, man, I can't make it.
I guarantee you that even if people want their money back, when the games were rescheduled, they would take those games also.
Well, it's not every case. I mean, in a situation where you don't hold people in the games or don't hold the TVs and everything else, there's going to be a loss. So I mean, it's tough. I mean, I'm agreeing with you. Is that from an easy perspective, yeah, just push the games back a week. That makes sense, but
makes
the
too
NFL,
much sense.
The NFL would rather push that one game and maybe hold that one game the next week after than to lose 16 games and try to reschedule 16 total games. So that's kind of where the NFL now is as far as what the schedule goes. They're hoping that, of course, he lives, and then we can go ahead if we need to play that Buffalo KC game, Buffalo Cincinnati game again. We could play it that next week, because then if we push those games back, that's just 6 games, and those games aren't even scheduled now anyway. So it's much easier to reschedule 6 playoff games than it is 16 regular season games. That's Madison Avenue thinking.
Yeah. Okay. That's I'll leave that there. But much better planning needs to be put in. Much better precautions need to be taken for these men. Not just for sports, period. we saw a regular hit take place, nothing traumatic, just a regular hit at a precise moment where it changed the man's life.
Yeah.
And now we understand it, but we want to make sure that the man is taken care of after football.
Well, let me ask you this question, because this is a weird one that's kind of going around now. There's kind of like a backlash towards T. Higgins, the wide receiver for the Bengals, saying that, trying to blame him for what happened, saying that if he didn't put his helmet down, then Hamlin wouldn't have
That's
gotten hurt.
crazy. That's
I
crazy.
mean, I'm hearing it, and I'm just like, what have we become as a society that people have lost all grasp of
Reality.
reality? I mean, is that the best word to use?
Well, that's just one because I say reality because let me go to Shannon Sharp and Skip Bayless.
Yeah. Well,
I have to bring them up because he made a tweet, and I understand what everybody was meaning by the tweet. I get it, but when I looked at the tweet, I didn't see what everybody else saw.
I think it was more just the callousness of how he presented it at the time.
Well,
It was not something that needed to be said at that time.
True, bad timing.
Timing's hard. Well, timing's everything. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah, bad. Well, because he said what he said, and it seemed like everybody ignored that final part where he was like, "With all that being said, all that's irrelevant to what's going on."
Right.
That part was ignored.
But that's the nature of when you deal with social media, is that people are going to pick and choose what they want to hear, because that's the nature of. I just saying that Skip Bayless is too veteran of a person. He should know better.
This is true. This is
And
true.
that's where it comes from my perspective. Is this is not a rookie announcer. This is somebody who has many, many years and has been through many situations, and he should know better than when you see that you got what's the word? Feel the room. You got to understand.
This wasn't a time for him to be the devil's advocate.
Yeah.
This was a time for we needed him to show humanity. We needed him to
Right.
show how much he cared.
Exactly. He wants to still be the shock jock. He still wants to be the image. That's why I go back to what I'm saying. Too often times it becomes about just image. It comes about how you present yourself, how you want to maintain that how that I don't know, the shield. He wants to be the guy. I'm going to make this statement that's going to shock people. Let me come out.
He wants to stand out.
I want to stand out. It's not a time for that when you're talking about the emotions going on at this present time.
A 24-year-old young man
whose life will never be the same again. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
he'll never be the same again.
Because he can't play anymore, right?
Well,
his career would
at
be
this
over,
point, career
even
is
if he
over.
came back, right?
Yeah, at this point, the career is over. But will he be able to just have a normal life?
That's what we should be worried about right there. Not I have to worry about his career because I want him to be able to take care of his family.
Right, but yeah, I mean, the dream scenario is that he completely heals 100% and he goes back to being the same player he was prior to the injury.
Not player, because even if he decided to play, would we be able to let him play?
Well, that's a whole nother question, because we don't know any past history, health histories. We don't know if that had any effect on what happened to him. There's just so many factors in play. I can't see him being able to be on the field and do what he does without having major scrutiny and without having major.
Did you listen to any of these so-called specialists they were talking to?
Yeah, everybody's coming out. They have all types. I mean, let's remember, when Tua got his first concussion, you had a specialist come out immediately and said, Tua needs to retire.
Wow.
And you remember, and at the time, people were like, because how that injury, it just looked so bad, blah, blah, blah. Tua came back, and not only did he come back, but he came back and played well for a while. Then he got another concussion. And then after the second concussion, he kind of was not quite the same. But now he's out for a third time. So the question is, was that guy right the first time when the guy said he needed to retire?
I'm thinking something else they need to add to these contracts is, especially when they're a rookie contract and they played so many games, they need to have some type of fund that goes to them, not medical coverage, but a fund, since the NFL has chosen to extend the rookie contract to 5 years, teams have the option of picking up the fifth-year contract, fifth year term, which slows them from getting their money.
Well, I mean, there are things in play. I mean, we're sitting here acting like the NFL has nothing in play for these players. There are certain insurances and things that these players do have that will protect them in case of injury on the field.
But you have to qualify for that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think in the case of DeMar Hamlin, I think he definitely would qualify under the nature of the injury things settlements they have.
Well,
he'll get a settlement. I mean, he's not going to be broke. I mean, they're going to find a way to take care of him.
Well, let me point something out. That CTE.
Well,
CTE was proven how many years ago, Steve?
Many years ago.
Many years ago, and there was a lawsuit.
Yes, it was.
And to obtain this money, your diagnosis had to been proven.
Right.
Over 60% of those diagnoses were proven, and they still haven't been paid out yet, Steve.
No, I mean, I think in trying to compare that to this situation, this is something that was seen on the field clear as day. As far as with CTE goes, like you're saying, guys are getting hit all the time and have concussions and stuff. Many, many times you don't know it. Unless it's like a situation like the Tua where it's in the visual eye, everybody sees it. That's very clear cut. A lot of these other times when guys are coming out saying, "Hey, I had a concussion. I need to get a settlement," they're going to go out of their way to try to.
Well, I'm talking about those cases that they looked at and they proved that their diagnosis was 100%.
Right. The NFL is still going to try to do, what do you call it, appeal and blah, 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 and slow to pay it out. I mean, that's an insurance companies are insurance companies. They're
money,
different.
Man.
Yeah, they're different than the league itself. The NFL insurance companies are going to do everything they can to hold off on paying a person's money. The NFL, in this case here, they got to come out and save face because this was a black eye for the leagues. I mean, let's be real.
Huge black eye.
It's a huge black eye. And they're going to do whatever they can to make sure this guy's taken care of. He has the power of the video to help him.
They better, man. They better.
So I think his case is different. Like I said, a lot of these other cases with the CT and all, I mean, that's where it had to come down to the lawsuits that, like you said, they weren't paying out the money. And finally, a group of players said, we got to get together and unite to fight the league because we're not being taken care of.
To point out something else, the NFL pension, you know how old you have to be to get that? 55 years old.
55 years old, yeah.
You know how much it is?
I paid a lot of money.
It used to be $5,600. They reduced it to $3,000.
Yeah, I mean it's sad. It's horrible.
They make more money now than they did then, and they reduced it to $3,000.
Yeah,
$3,000.
I know, and you think about all those former players who played in the era when they were making very little, no money, and had hospital bills to pay. I mean, I just think about poor Earl Campbell. I see Earl Campbell,
wow,
in the wheelchair, and just a beast of a player. Those who remember him in his Houston early days, and now he's just relegated to being in a wheelchair and just
bodies at 1,000%, and then they reduced to this.
And I think the NFL may have taken care of him a little bit, but nowhere near what he should have got for what he brought to the league.
But see, what's crazy? This is what's crazy. And think about what I'm saying, everybody. Please like, subscribe, and share. Tell a friend. Please hit that like button. Think about what I'm saying. The NFL could put these past players in commercials to generate money for them where it doesn't even have to come out of the so-called pocket.
Oh, absolutely.
Commercials can be generated for former players and money can be generated. It's a one big beast that it can be taken care of.
Listen to me. I'm in total agreement. I mean, not even just commercials. There's so many things they can do. People would love to just, even like I said, just see the players
meet and greets,
have things where the players can be part of the game. I mean, every NFL game you go to, fans love to see the former players on the field.
Thank you.
That should be a part of every.
Mr. Goodell, you need to come sit down with me and make us a part. I have a lot of ideas that would help out. That it would be what a tenth of the. It wouldn't even take any money from you guys. That it wouldn't be like that.
No, I agree with you. I mean, this has, like I said, going back to what we were saying earlier, this has to make a change. There's far too many players who have meant so much to this league. So many players who, like I said, he's become a big name just because of the circumstance. But think about all the other players like him who've been through similar type hits, who we don't see on the field. We don't see him knocked out. They don't get the effects till 4, 5, 6, 7 years later.
All right, you know what? I'm gonna do this. Well, check this out, Steve. I'm making an appeal to all the players and the Players Association. If you all stick together, this is a sport that you all play. This is a sport that you all love. If you all stick together and go back to the bargaining table, there's no way they can't play the sport without you. They need you. You can make these changes. These are simple changes. Simple ideas can make this great. And like I said, Steve, back to my idea about changing the helmet. The helmet doesn't need to be a helmet where you can launch yourself to be a missile. The helmet should protect you, but it should be made to where you're smart enough. I can't run into this person because I'm gonna knock myself out trying to run into you.
Yeah.
The game needs to be a tackle football. Let's go back to throw up football. Throw it in the air and it's tackled.
Well, you want to see anybody have any comments on this? Do you think anybody said anything, or how's it looking as far as?
Well, no.
Let's talk about what's
Johnson. James Johnson said, "What's up?" Charlie Bear said, "What's up?" We have a bunch of people watching this.
Anybody want to come on? Anybody want to call in and say anything, Bobby, before we get to the picks?
What's up, Ross Lauren? How you doing, sir? Thank you for the love, sir.
Yeah.
We're about to get into these picks. If somebody wanted something to say, I'll open the phone line.
Yeah, let's see. Maybe just give a few minutes while we go over a couple other things before we get into the picks. We can.
Here you go. I'll put the so we can leave Mr. DeMar Hamlin's name still up.
Yes.
I'll put the call-in number right there. So
everybody has something to say. I mean, like I said, we've gone over a whole lot. We had a lot to say. I mean, you guys are all sports fans like us. You guys have all had experiences, and some of you guys might have watched some of the things I talked about. Maybe you can remember that Jack Tatum play. Maybe you remember that Mancini fight. I mean, there's been some other cases we haven't even discussed about as far as players getting hurt or even killed on the field. And it's just something that you just feel like in 2023, we all got to be better. I mean, there's some things you just can't help. I mean, there's going to be a guy who has a heart condition that, was undetected.
All our bodies are different.
But yeah, just.
Well, I would like to say, we've talked about this, but praise God that Mr. Hamlin, he's showing signs of improvement.
Yeah,
they said he is showing signs of improvement, and I have to take that with a grain of salt because I hate hearing stuff from somebody, and you don't see for yourself. All you can do is go off of their word, right. And you're hanging it there every moment.
Yeah. Well, now his family member came out and said, and it was interesting that he even lost his had to be resuscitated at the hospital as well. So it's 2 times.
Well, I watched TMZ, and they got down to the bottom of it, and the family apologized. They said that family member, due to the stress of what's going on, the story's going back and forth. That's not true. He only had to be resuscitated 1 time on the field, okay. And I saw the interview too because I was like, "Wow, he lost his life twice, and it had to be brought back." But no, they said he was incorrect. The information he just got late information, and this the stress going on, and that's why we heard it like that.
Okay, well that's it. I mean, that's interesting to see because we don't know. Is that true? Is that not true? We'll go with TMZ's word and say that he only 1 time, but that's still 1 time too many. So we're going to still go with, like I said, there's a lot going on with this, and so we'll go ahead and see where things turn up. But
let's get into these picks. I'll leave the number up just in case somebody wants to call in. But we're about to get off this air in a second. We're gonna go through these picks for next week. I don't know how they're gonna do it because it's that game is still open, but hey,
Well, we got 3 games on Saturday, and these games were set up to be kind of like games.
2 games on Saturday.
I thought they changed it to 2 now.
Yep, it's the Chiefs and the Raiders.
Okay, look, there's a change here. I got Chiefs and Raiders. It's going to be Chiefs, of course. I mean, the Raiders. I mean, we didn't get into the news this week, but you guys all know about the situation with Derek Carr and
Stadium. You know, we'll talk more about that next week. Here, Steve. Let's see who's calling in.
Let's call in.
Brother, what's the sports? How you doing?
I'm good, and you?
Good. You have anything to say about what we're talking about?
Yeah, with the football, and the tackling has changed a whole lot. And also, they're scared to really tackle because of the impact. So it leads them to actually injure themselves by using their bodies. They're using their head. And also, they're tackling very low instead of tackling by the waist. They're tackling by the ankles. And it's like the proper technique of tackling is not the same. Like, they're scared to get hit.
Well,
what do you think?
Well, first of all, let's have you tell us who you are, first of all.
Oh, this is Lauren Ross. This is Big Ross.
How you doing, Ross?
All right. Well, thank you. First of all, thank you so much for listening. I agree with you. I mean, like I said, if you go back and you watch 60s football, 70s football, now, I mean, a lot of things like the clothesline and things that, players use other things to take you out other than their head back in the day, which, of course, have now been outlawed. But, there's no question that players use that helmet as a weapon.
Right.
So I agree with you 100% on that. I mean, they tried everything possible to throw the penalties, et cetera, but it isn't enough. They got to change the equipment. Right now, the equipment is the issue. That helmet is a weapon, and they create a helmet that if a player is like, man, if I hit the guy with this, it's going to knock me out. Players are going to stop doing that.
Agreed.
Yeah. So I'm agreeing.
I also think their workouts have become different. They're working out for power, but not for endurance. You got to do both. And then, they're using a bunch of resistance bands instead of actually feeling the pain while working out, to where if they do have an impact, it doesn't hurt as bad, no cause complication. That's my perspective to an extent. You know what I'm saying? They don't want to put on no muscle. It's like, look at some of the middle linebackers to safeties. I mean, some of them are ripped, and then the rest of them, they're lean. It's kind of like, to me, you don't have no muscle to actually help you do something that if your body didn't have any muscle, you're going to hurt yourself because you haven't built any resistance to it. You know what I mean? They're like more focused on agility more than anything.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, guys are a lot different. The football players of today are a lot different than the ones 25, 30, 40 years ago, no question. And so that all plays a part. They are faster, so the impacts are going to be harder because you move faster. And so, all these are playing a factor. I agree.
I appreciate you calling in, sir. We got to get these picks out because we've exhausted our time for this week. But thank you for calling in, and subscribe to us on YouTube. Blow the Whistle Sports on YouTube.
Yes, thank you again. Great insight.
Peace and love.
Peace and love. Thank you so much. Real good insight. So, yes.
You have a good one, sir. So thank you for calling in.
So they did change the schedule because they were supposed to have 3 games on Saturday, so they must have moved 1 game to Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday.
Right, so
Sunday's going to be the overload.
Okay.
But Saturday we got 2 games. We have Chiefs and Raiders, and you're taking the Chiefs.
Yes.
We got another call. Let's see who's calling in. Brother, what's the sports? How you doing?
Good. Omar, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, Omar? How you doing, sir?
Good. I caught the end of the show. I was doing some editing.
Well, thank you so much for calling in. Do you have any insight on the injury to DeMar Hamlin this week? Or that's our main topic is that we're talking about is.
I feel like the incident of this week is it's just a fluke. It's an incident. It's just what happens. It's just it. I mean, it had nothing to do with the helmet. It had nothing to do with anything. It's just we don't even know yet, so we can't speculate on what could happen, on what had happened. He didn't look in the way he went down. He hit him. I mean, he tackled him. He got back up, and his body fell on him. That has nothing to do with the league. That has nothing to do with helmets. That, you know, if anything, I think the players have done really well in the last couple of years to try not to lead with the crown of the helmet. Because that's all we're trying to protect is brain damage. As far as anything else, when I played ball, I was trying to hurt the next guy because I didn't know any better. Because all the tapes I saw that, you know what, if you hit someone real hard, knock them out. That way they're not gonna get back up again. And you know, a lot of guys made a lot of money.
That's how it was played.
And that's how it was played. We talked about that at the beginning. We discussed how the old, in the old school, football mindset was you're supposed to take the guy out, and that was how the NFL was understood.
Yeah, but that's also what that's doing right now is they're fixing a problem, but they're also making another problem because it just, I mean, they're trying and it does help, but not what it does. It actually, if you notice, a lot more defensive players are going down because they have to adjust to not hitting quarterbacks that are bigger than that. If Mahomes is running close to me, he's a big boy. How else am I going to take that guy down? Or take out what's his name, Henry, who's probably twice the size of everyone on the field. So college players are getting bigger, and defensive players are trying to figure out how to take them out. Like, do they go for the legs? You go for the legs. You might mess around and mess up your shoulders.
And see, that's what I was talking about with changing the helmet. If you change the helmet, this game should be a skill game, still be tackled, but be a skilled game. If we change the helmet where you're not able to use your head as a missile, it will make the game much better.
But you know what my coach told me? My coach told me this 24 years ago. He said it only takes 8 pounds to break your only takes 8 pounds to break your mess your neck up. So so it doesn't really matter. You're playing this game. You could do all you want, but if you land wrong or if you do something wrong, it's not going to make a difference. That's the game you chose to play. If I was playing water polo, then I'm not expecting any brain damage or anything to go with it. This is the reason why it is. So I feel like it's not going to change what there was. If anything, I mean, they have to pay. I mean, when they have to play in bubble wrap, like how else are they going to?
No, I like I said, I hear what you're saying, and I want to bring this exact conversation, back up next week at the beginning of the show because we'll be able to get to more of the news and everything that's going on.
We're gonna update,
but I hear what you're saying about the 8 pounds, everything. But if you change the helmet, it would change people from running at top speed with their head into hitting people.
We only talk about it when somebody gets hurt. If we don't have another, if we go through the entire playoffs and there is no major injury, we're going to push that under the rug again because we only react when there's something major that happens. The fact of the matter is we've had a great football season.
Yeah. And
unfortunately, something major happened. We're not going to lose this kid. This kid's going to survive. You know, things are going to be fine. You know.
I mean, that's what you're saying is what the NFL is definitely hoping for. I mean,
we all are praying for that.
And I mean, the NFL, yeah, like you said, the NFL is hoping that this kind of just goes away and they can just go back to.
Yeah, but you know how many players got.
Oh, I know.
You know what I mean? These players are dropping, but that's the cost of that. That's the price you play. That's why if I had a son, I would tell my son I don't want him to play football because I wouldn't want him to go out there and one, be afraid something could happen to him. Mm-hmm. Also be afraid that he might not be good enough. He might not be good enough because I don't want him to, or just whatever. I just don't want him to feel like he has to go all hard and like he has to hurt people to make a point. The game is bad. I mean, not bad. It's a good game, but it's just hard for to see your kid on the floor.
Hey, it's gladiator school.
Yeah,
and it's always been gladiator school. And we're not talking about changing the sport, as in how it's played. We're talking about making it more skill, and we're talking about accountability. So even though all that may happen, they need to have in line for people to get fixed. We need sports hospitals for players. We need players hospitals for players that specialize in players' needs, so that these things can be handled as they come in. Because as you like if you would have listened to the show when we started, walking is wear and tear in your body. Regular running. We're not talking about for a sport. We're talking about just you getting up, going to work. That's wear and tear in your body. Moving around is wear and tear in your body. But when you put your body through a sport, you're putting extra on your body, and we need to have those sports hospitals for these players. But Omar, thank you for calling in.
Yeah,
and I don't want to cut this off. I want to bring this back up next week.
I was going to say, let's bring it up next week, because he brought up a whole different topic that somebody should talk about for next week.
Yeah. Please call in next week, sir.
How many people are going to want their children to play football, seeing what they saw on the field?
Exactly.
Is that going to change guys wanting to play for a long time? Is that going to change parents saying my child can't play? That's a great topic, Omar. Thank you for bringing that up, because I think we should talk more about that for next week.
But before we get you off the phone, we want you to make 2 picks for the Saturday games: Kansas City or the Raiders, and Tennessee or the Jaguars. Go ahead, Omar.
Can I tell you something? I'm not going to make those picks. I'm just going to tell you the Niners are not going to lose any more games for the rest of the season.
Oh my God! See, we weren't even going to go there yet.
Let's cut him off. Let's cut him off. He's went too far.
Yeah, we weren't even going to go there yet. But all right. Hey, if you sign on to YouTube and onto our page on YouTube and subscribe, you got some people with you. James Johnson, every time he shows up, he's like bang bang. Every time he shows up, he's like bang bang. Well, I mean, the Niners have been strong, but I think Brock Purdy, though, I think they're starting to find a little bit of deficiencies in him.
Yeah, but
we'll get to that.
We get into that next week. We got to do these picks. Thank you for calling in, Omar.
All right, you too. Thank you so much. All right, so we said Chiefs, but I think we both agree with the Chiefs. Now, Titans Jaguars. Let's keep in mind, Titans Jaguars. That is for the AFC South crown.
I'm taking the Jags.
I got the Jags too, especially with quarterbacks are out. I think both quarterbacks might be out for this game.
You know what? I like the way Statham played, and I think the Raiders can upset. I'm gonna take the Raiders.
Oh, so you've already jumped to the Raider game.
Hey, well, no, that's the first game. You said we both took the Chiefs. So I'm taking the Raiders.
You taking the Raiders?
Yep, I'm taking the Raiders.
Ooh, okay.
You know why I'm taking the Raiders?
Tell me.
Because we behind. I got to make some drastic picks.
Okay, you just drastic.
I got to be drastic.
You just picking for this. You're not picking because you actually think they're going to win. You just think.
I'm playing. I'm taking the Chiefs.
I was going to say.
I'm playing.
You do know the Chiefs are playing for the number 1 seed.
Yeah, Chiefs, Jaguars. Now we move to Sunday games. Bucks and Falcons.
Woo! Bucks and Falcons. Well, Tom Brady has already been announced he is going to play.
I'm taking the Falcons.
I got the Bucks.
The Bucks should win, but I'm taking the Falcons. Patriots and the Bills.
Patriots and the Bills. Important game for both teams. Patriots need to win in order to get a playoff spot, and the Bills are still fighting for that number 1 seed. Games in Buffalo. I'm going with Buffalo.
See, the Bills. I after what happened, I don't know where their mindset is going to be. That's their brother that's out right there. And the Patriots always play the Bills tough too. But I'm still going to go with the Bills, but I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring game with this snowstorm going on. That's everywhere,
Yeah. All right, I got the Bills as well.
Vikings at the Bears. Vikings, of course.
I'm gonna say, of course, as I told y'all before, Kirk Cousins has shown himself.
The
to be
3 and 13 Bears. Come on, Steve. Stop
Yeah,
it.
but the Vikings, it's Kirk Cousins.
Who you taking in?
I got the Vikings.
No, take the Bears, Steve. Take them.
No, I got the Vikings. I mean, no, the Bears playing for no one seed. They want that quarterback. We didn't even get a chance to talk about college football because of so much with Damar Hamlin, but that quarterback for what's his name looked real good. Alabama, Bryce Young.
Baltimore and the Bengals.
Baltimore, the Bengals. This is also now for the title.
Is Lamar back?
Oh, he has to be back because this game determines the AFC North turnaround. So
I'm taking the Bengals because Lamar gonna have to put it all on his legs and coming back from injury. I don't know.
Rusty. Yeah, I got Bengals too. But plus, I think the Bengals are going to be inspired after that game. They're going to be, real team oriented. They're going to come out hard.
Texans at the Colts. Who's starting at the helm for the Colts?
Doesn't matter. I think it's Erlinger, but this is.
I'm taking the Texans.
This is an ugly game. I actually got the Colts only because Texas want that number one print. They're not going to mess around. They're going to lose. I told you you're going to tank last week. I gave you guys a guaranteed lock with the Jags over the Texans, and I hope you guys took our 4 last week. You would have won some money.
Yeah, you would have. Jets at the Dolphins.
Another game. Dolphins need to win.
Taking the Fins.
Take the Fins.
Even though,
but both quarterbacks are out now.
Still taking the Fins.
Bridgewater's out, and Tua's gonna be out.
Oh, my bad. I'm taking the Jets.
Okay, that's what I thought too.
I'm taking the Jets.
I got Jets too.
Carolina, Cali Cat Pack, Roaring Riot, Panther Nation. Hey, it is what it is. And what I will say, I like Wilkes, but I will say I didn't like the non-adjustment to that corner getting burned 3 times on the same play with the same pass from the same person. Oh my goodness. It was like a bad rewind every time. I didn't like that. And if Harbaugh, they talk about,
I'm gonna ask you, how you feel about that?
Hey, I'm not too mad about a Harbaugh that
You
come
should
over.
be.
Why?
Yeah, I like Harbaugh. Nah.
He's at Michigan right now.
Yeah,
he said he wasn't thinking about leaving though.
He did a horrible job coaching Michigan. Like I said, we didn't even get into the college football bowl games.
Well, he did a horrible job coaching Michigan, but he did a wonderful job coaching the 49ers.
Yeah, did he?
Yes, he did.
Wasn't he the guy who put in Kaepernick and then he destroyed Kaepernick and then he went on? Who did he put in? There was a whole lot of things going on with the Niners then.
Okay, but Panthers are the Saints.
I'm gonna go with the Panthers. I mean, I feel so bad about you guys last. I'm gonna go with the Panthers just for you.
That's so irritating, right?
I will, but just for you.
That's so irritating
because I already know that they're trying not to go with Steve Wilkes, so let him go out with a win.
Yeah, I'm taking Carolina also.
Let him go out with a win.
Browns at the Steelers.
Ooh, another game that matters for the Steelers. They still can get over 500 and they can still win a playoff spot. I got the Steelers all the way.
I'm taking the Browns.
Ooh, you think the streak's on the end?
Yeah,
16 straight seasons with a winning record. They can go 9-8 if they were to win.
I'm taking the Browns.
Wow. Okay.
Giants at the Eagles.
Oh, this is easy. Eagles fly, Eagles fly.
I'm taking the Giants.
You doing okay?
Cowboys at the Commanders.
Oh, this is another easy one. Cowboys for sure. Commanders are starting Sam Howell.
Yeah, I'm taking the Cowboys.
Okay, I was gonna say.
Ron Rivera never seems to fail. He does the dumbest thing. I don't care if Heineke, that's his name.
Yes.
He made mistakes, but he gave you guys the biggest spark. Yeah. So thank you for taking Rivera. Thank you.
Son, like I said, at the beginning of the year when you gave me a hard time when I told you I can't be a diehard fan for the Commanders.
Right.
Now you see why.
Hey.
With a chance for and did you hear the latest about that though?
No.
Rivera didn't know that there was no chance that they could be eliminated. You didn't hear that?
No.
He actually had to come out. They had to come out because he said he might have started Heineke if he knew there was a chance they could be eliminated. He started, what's his name, thinking that no matter what happened, they still had a chance for the playoffs the last game. So that just shows you where Rivera's mind is. That he's just totally.
His mind has been there for a lot of years.
Well, I just thought that was crazy.
Chargers at the Broncos.
Chargers the Broncos.
I don't think I would have told anybody.
Yeah, I would have kept quiet on that. You know, this is a game where you should take the Chargers, but Russell Wilson looked a lot better last week with that new coach. And
you know, it was a rare sighting of Russell Wilson last week.
I saw Seattle Russell Wilson last week. He was running for touchdowns. I mean,
they let him be himself.
Yeah, let him be himself. He looked like he was like controlling, pointing at people, telling people where to go. I was like, where have you been all year, Russell? Where have you been? So I think the Broncos will win this game.
You know what?
I got the Broncos because I think the Chargers already got their playoff spot. They can't do anything to change it. So they're going to rest guys.
I'm going to take the Broncos also.
Yeah.
Rams at the Seahawks. I'm taking the Seahawks.
I got Seahawks too.
And Cardinals at the 49ers.
Well, according to Omar, they're not going to lose another game all year. So I can't take the Cardinals. Got to go with those Niners.
Yeah. I'm scared of what Omar said too.
I'm not going against Omar.
Oh, I think I would take the 4-12 over the 12-4s. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it all depends. I mean, the Niners don't care to win if they already got their spot locked in. Then they might.
They don't have their spot locked in.
But that's what I'm saying. They don't have their spot locked in, and Omar's already said they're gonna win. So,
okay, bang bang, Niner gang. I said it. They should be happy.
They should be happy. Yeah. Niners win by 20.
And then the last game of the season. Well, no, not the last game because we have a game that's in continuation.
Yeah, we might have another game.
Lions at the Packers. Both 8-8s meet up.
Yes, and for a playoff spot because if the Packers win, they're in the playoffs. If the Lions win and the Seahawks lose, the Lions are in the playoffs.
Let me see. When did the Seahawks play?
So the Seahawks played before. I think they moved the Seahawks game. Did they move to an early game?
I'm taking the Lions.
I got Lions too. God. You know something? You taking the Lions? I'm going to take the Packers only because as much as I love the Lions are still going to be the Lions. They can't beat the Packers in a big game, meaningful game. It ain't going to happen, especially on the road, especially in Green Bay.
Let me give a shout out to Portia McDowell. How you doing, Miss Lady?
All right. How you doing? Thanks for listening to the show.
She's another Carolina fan, diehard, Cali Cat Pack, Roaring Riot, Panther Nation. What's up, Portia?
Well, like I said, next year the Panthers could compete for the NFC South with their new coach. I hate to say it.
Hey.
But with their new coach, now what I've been hearing about DeMarco Ryans. Now, what do you think about him? The 49ers coordinator. They're talking about him being a Panther.
Yeah. I've heard that one too. I'm not going to put too much speculation into it because I do want Steve still, even though, like I said, I didn't like the changes to the lineup last week after he saw us get burned on the 3 straight plays.
Yeah.
But, hey, let me give a shout out to Renee Fleming. How you doing, sir? Big shout out. Thank you for the love, sir. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Who else we got?
Oh, my wife said a lot of players complained about that new helmet.
Yeah, I heard that as well. I mean, there definitely were a lot of complaints on the helmet. I mean, like I said, I just think there's a helmet they can create with the technology they have, whereas that part here in the helmet can't be used as a projectile. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
Basically.
It's people, you don't see people get hit with the face mask. You see them get hit right here. So if they could put a cushioning there that will soften the blow, that can easily be injected into the helmet.
Yes, sir. And thank you guys for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, and share.
Yes.
Tell a friend, and we'll see y'all next week.
Well, next week we'll be talking playoffs. I mean,
next week
we may be talking playoffs depending on what to do with the Bills game.
Yeah, we're gonna get into all that. We're gonna have a full show for you next week. Thank you for tuning in. We went over a little bit this week, but we appreciate the support.
But this was important. We went over a very important topic, and it needed to be discussed. So
prayers still going out to Mr. Damar Hamlin.
Absolutely, and like I said, next
number
week,
3.
Hopefully, we will have him back in full, at least back on his feet, at least back to
at least watching the games.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Give us a thumbs up. We want to hear his voice.
Yes.
Absolutely. Prayers go out to his family.
Prayers for sure. So thank you guys again.
Peace out, peoples.
Peace.